So welcome everyone to the third session of our Level Up Work and Wellness program. Today's topic is what rises to the top. There's a few people, there's someone off mute. There we go. Okay, so yeah, please keep yourselves muted, but if we are having chats, feel free to come off the mute and chat to us anytime today. Lorna, would you like to do a quick intro for us?
Yeah, for sure. So at the beginning of each of these sessions, we also just do a quick introduction and level session in case this is your first time joining an event like this. So for those of you who are new to ITAG stands for the IT Atlantic Gateway, and they're a non-profit tech association that develop technology innovation along the Atlantic Gateway. As you know, we have a thriving digital tech cluster here in Galway, and ITAG nourishes this tech cluster through networking events, tech talks, social events, and by hosting upskilling opportunities for leadership and future skills development. Within ITAG, there are various special interest forums. For example, if you have an interest in cybersecurity, there is a forum dedicated to that. Or for people working in Agile, there's a forum dedicated to that. Or for those of you who are women working in tech, we have our Digital Women's Forum. And we are the forum today that are bringing you the Level Up Work and Wellness program. And as a forum, our goal is to empower women in digital tech by examining the unique challenges that we face as women working in and with technology, and to effect progressive change within the various organizations we work in around the Atlantic Gateway. The ITAG Digital Women's Forum offers networking and educational opportunities and programs like our mentoring program, Coaching for Success, and the Digital Women's Executive Leadership Program. And if you want details on any of those forums or any of the Digital Women's Forum programs, you can find them on itag.ie. Okay, so just to move on to Taryn and I, we are both on the ITAG Digital Women's Forum Committee, and we're super excited to have co-created this Level Up Work and Wellness program and to host it for you over the 6 sessions. And just to move on, I guess, to ourselves, Taryn, do you want to say a quick hello there?
Yeah, for those of you who haven't met me yet, I'm Taryn Schiller. I've joined Avaya recently, based here in Galway, and I've worked within the local tech industry here in Ireland since 2013, within other companies like HPE, DXC, Planet, and Neat. And my experience and passion for my career is based around working in agile companies that are growth focused and care about creating a space for employees to work at their best. And for you, Lorna?
Thanks, Taryn. So hi, everyone. My name is Lorna Smith. I work as a solutions engineer in Diligent, and they've just made Galway their EMEA headquarters. So we'll be moving into that new building there on the docks and in early spring 2022. So really looking forward to that. And I've been working with the ITAG Digital Women's Forum for several years now, and also worked in local tech companies like SmartBear, HPE, and DXC Technology. So nice to meet you all. Thanks for coming today.
Great. So I'll just do a quick overview of our agenda for today. So we're going to look at the program overview again for those of you who haven't seen it yet. Then we'll start talking about today's topics, which is goal setting. We'll do the introduction. We'll then move on to setting the right goals, how to review the progress of your goals, and we'll have a breakout session today as well. So Lorna's going to give us an overview of the program.
Yeah, so in case this is your first session that you're joining, this is a quick overview of what the 6-week Level Up Work and Wellness program looks like, and it's been running bi-weekly. We'll finish up on the 1st of December. And the program essentially is a conscious approach to your personal wellness and agility. You'll see there the various topics that we're covering. Today's topic is what rises to the top, which is all about setting the right goals and staying accountable to those goals. So if you're interested in registering for the future sessions, you can do that on the ITAG website. I think Taryn's going to paste it in the chat there if you want to click in. And if you've missed any of the previous sessions, the recordings are also available there, so you can just watch them on YouTube in your own time. Okay, thanks Taryn for posting that in. So that's there in the chat for anyone who wants to click in there and register.
Great. Did I jump a slide there?
No, you're all good. That's exactly where we should be. So thanks for that, Taryn. And what we're going to begin today with is just an introduction to goal setting. I think everybody's heard of it at some stage or another, but I just want to level set with everybody. And when we think about goal setting, if you really think about it, ask the question, how could you build the life that you want if you don't have a clear vision for it? It would be like putting together a jigsaw without looking at the cover. And I can't imagine a lot of us would do that. So let's look at what are goals. So goals are the first step towards planning for your future, and they play a fundamental role in the development of skills in various facets of life. So whether that's work or relationships or personal development and everything in between. They're the target at which we aim our proverbial arrow. And I think with modern society today, it's always seems to be encouraging us to think about the next milestone, the next big win. However, we often don't think about enough is the science and the technique of how we can accomplish those goals. So not just setting those goals, but understanding the science and techniques. Understanding the importance of goals and the techniques involved in setting achievable goals will pave the way for success. And in the words of Pablo Picasso, our goals can only be reached through a vehicle of a plan in which we must fervently believe and upon which we must vigorously act. There is no other route to success. And then just to talk about the importance of goals, the setting of goals has been shown to increase employee motivation and organizational commitment. Goals can affect the intensity of our actions and our emotions. So typically, the more difficult and valued a goal is, the more intense our efforts will be in order to attain it. And the more success and fulfillment we will then experience following achieving that goal. And then finally, through the experience of success and the positive emotions that accompany it, confidence and belief in our own abilities will grow. And I'm sure you've all experienced that, once you actually achieve something or get over a milestone, then you have that confidence and that energy to go forward and maybe achieve another goal or set another goal. Okay, so that's just a little bit about what are goals and the importance of them. And then I want to look at some of the benefits as well, just to give you, I guess, an idea of why you should make time for this goal setting and how important it is. So goals will provide a clear direction focus for your time and energy, which is a very valuable thing that you own. So you need to put that time and energy into things that are important for you. And having goals sets out your intentions and desires of what you want your life to look like in the future. Setting goals, then finally reaching those goals will give you that satisfaction and make you feel like you're capable of achieving other goals you have set or are going to set. Goals give you clarity on what's most important to you in life. Having goals clarifies the future you want to create for yourself with measurements and deadlines. Without goals, you could waste time on activities that stop you from moving forward in life. And we're going to look at that in our exercise about understanding, where are you spending your time today? Goals force you to set priorities. And then once you have priorities, they will help establish your direction to your pursuits. And the really key one here is goals provide accountability. So once you've set your goals, you feel you have a responsibility to achieve those goals and stay accountable. And then finally, motivation. Goals increase excitement and inspiration. They can give you that added bit of motivation you need when you don't feel motivated or if you experience setbacks, which is all part of, trying to achieve goals. Okay, so now that we've just kind of understood the basics and an introduction, Taryn's going to talk a little bit about the science of goal setting.
Thanks, Lorna. Okay, so the RAS, I don't know if anyone's ever come across the RAS. So this is our reticular activating system. I first came across this years ago when I started looking into NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. So if any of you are familiar with that, you might have seen this before. So basically the RAS it's a part of our brain. It's located in the brainstem. And what it does is we receive billions of bits of information or data per second. And sorry, yes, got a bit of echo going on there. If we can find that. Sorry. Okay, so anyway, so we receive these billions of bits of data per second, which is perceived through our senses like taste, smell, auditory, etc. And it's just too much for us to actually cope with. So the RAS actually starts to filter that information down into a few thousand, probably about 2,000 bits of data per second. And the way it does this, it filters it by generalizing, distorting, and deleting information that it doesn't think is relevant, so that we can pick out the bits and pieces that we need from this information for our needs. So for example, you might have noticed that something new is happening in your life, like you're thinking about buying a new car, and all of a sudden you start to spot these cars on the road that you never saw before. They were probably there before, but your RAS wasn't filtering them because it wasn't important for you to look for previously. So that's what the RAS is doing. The same if you're thinking about falling pregnant, all of a sudden you'll see pregnant ladies or prams or everything like you wouldn't have seen them on your normal day. So it's filtering in that important information. And this is why it's important to set goals, so that we're telling our RAS, my focus is here. So you need to bring in that important information relevant to this to me. I actually listened to a really interesting podcast on the RAS a while back, and the speaker was mentioning that he came out of the army and he had PTSD, and his realization was in the army, they're trained to look for dangerous situations or bad scenarios because that's what their purpose is to help clarify those situations. So he's trained to always look for that negativity and that danger. And he came out of the army back into normal life, and all he was seeing was danger, or if not, he was even creating those dangerous scenarios because that's what his RAS wanted. And he realized that he needed coaching to reframe his RAS so that he could deal with his PTSD and start to filter in more positive situations and information. So once again, just to wrap up, we want to ensure that our RAS knows what's important to us right now, what we value and what we want to grow in, so that it filters in the right information, the right people, the right courses, etc., into our awareness, which will then set the stage for our next steps for our goals. So just a bit of a recap here. If anyone was on session 1 with JJ, where we looked at our values, or maybe you watched the recording afterwards, you'll recognize these two images here from JJ's session. And what JJ did with us, I'm just going to do a quick recap because this will feed into what we do today. So he listed some values here that you can see on the screen, and he told us to pick out about 4 to 6 of these values. And then we chose a couple and we looked at what a 10 rating would look like against the value. So that 10 rating was, what would that value look like if it was fulfilled, completely fulfilled? That was a 10. And then we then rated that value as to where we were now on a scale of 1 to 10. So 10 is fulfilled, 5 is halfway to feeling fulfilled in that value. So we also then in that exercise, he showed us how to chunk down into small steps to increasing that value. So he said choose one value that you can increase the rating by 1 point. So let's say I chose one like community, and I rated myself as a 5 in community because I'm doing this little bit of stuff here with ITAG, but I could probably get more into my local community and help more with volunteering. So maybe that one step would be to go identify another charity that I could help out on. So that's what that extra point looked like there. So we want to ensure that we're setting the right goals that aligns to the values of what's important for us right now. So just a reminder as well that your values that are important right now will change depending on your current circumstances. For me at the moment, I'm in the process of buying a house. So that is top of my values right now, is to secure a home. But in a couple of years' time, that house would be off my radar because I would have achieved that goal. I would have the house. I would have probably fitted it out how I wanted to. And then my top of my focus would be something else. So just remembering that your values change depending on where you are right now. So we're going to do a little exercise now. If you don't necessarily need a pen and paper, you can have a quick think, but if you have one to hand, grab it there. And I want you to think about one value. So it might be one of the ones you chose from JJ's session if you were there, or if not, have a look at this list here and pick one that jumps out of you, that's resonating with you right now. So I'll give you a minute to just quickly identify that. So hopefully you have one by now. You shouldn't give it too much thought, just one that kind of jumps out right now. And then I want you to have a think about things that you've spent time on in the last few weeks. So just a few things that have taken a lot of your time. So can you list a couple of things there? I'll give you another minute to just have a think about that. Sorry, I forgot to click there. I actually have them listed on the slide. So to summarize, you've looked at one value to focus on today, and you're listing out a couple of line items of things that are taking up your time the last few weeks. And then thirdly, have a think. So the things that you've spent time on recently, does it fit into that value you've chosen? Does it align?
Yeah, and just to give an example there, for example, if your value was family, and then, maybe fulfilling that value would be spending time with family, going for dinner, just having a coffee with a family member. And then you look, okay, in the last 2 weeks, did I actually get to do that at all? And if not, then, maybe there's a reason why you're not feeling so fulfilled, because, you didn't get to spend time doing something that aligns with your value of family.
Exactly. And if the answer to that question is yes, it does align, or if the answer is no, there's no right or wrong in that. But it gives you the idea of where you need to put your focus. So a lot of time people are setting these goals, but they're not actually finding the time or prioritizing the time to actually fulfill them. So this is why sometimes you'd have very busy people who are feeling unfulfilled, is they're spending time on things that don't actually mean much to them. And it's up to you to prioritize fitting in that time to get that feeling of fulfillment. When Lorna and I were setting up this program, we've actually had some great insights on it. After JJ's first session, we had identified our 4 to 6 values there, and we're working through some of this program, and every time we talk, we keep saying how it just flows and it feels easy, and it's not that it is easy. It's taking a lot of our own personal time, and there's a lot of coordination, and this is stretching us out of our comfort zones, but we're having an absolute ball doing it together. And we stopped and thought, well, does this course that we're creating align with the values that we identified? And they actually did, and they identified with quite a few of those values, and we realized that's why we're loving doing this, why it's fulfilling. So Lorna, do you remember the values that aligned for you?
Yeah. So I think some of the ones that I had said were important to me were to have fun and laughter in my life. And somehow, even though we were working really hard, we always had like a really great laugh, whether it was with each other or the speakers or ITAG, who were helping putting this together with us. And then another value of mine was personal growth, and another one was community. So yeah, that definitely contributed to, this feeling of, wow, we're putting something together that is a lot of work, but it doesn't feel like work. And the time absolutely flew every time we were working on it. And it's just getting into that state of flow, and then the realization that, oh, the reason it doesn't feel like work is because this aligns with my core values. So yeah, really interesting. And Taryn, what about you? Which were the values that this aligned with for you?
Yeah, the ones that jumped up for me, I had 3, well, actually 4, because the 4th one was family and friends. And after this, I know we've got along, but you're definitely in my friendship bubble now for sure. But the other one is meaningful work. And this to me is meaning to help other people from the things that I learn. Self-development, as I said, Lorna and I are really stretching ourselves here into creating this, hosting, etc. So there's loads there. And then even health and fitness. So this fits in with my mental health fitness that, I'm learning and growing and sharing that as well. So basically, in essence, what we're trying to say here is if you know what's important to you right now and you make a bit of time to focus on it, hopefully you'll start to feel that fulfillment and satisfaction more regularly too. So that was the point of that little exercise. So Lorna, I'm going to move you on to the next slide.
Sure, thanks, Taryn. And if anyone does want to spend more time on that value identification, again, we have session 1 recorded on YouTube. It's available on the website, so it's a really interesting exercise to do. Okay, so just back to the goal setting then. We've spoken about the benefits of goal setting and the science of how the RAS, the reticular activating system, can help your goal setting. And now we're going to share a technique for setting great goals. So what you'll see here is the SMART goals, and most of us who've worked on projects in the corporate world will probably have come across SMART goals at some stage. And this technique prompts you to make goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. And by following a technique, like this, you're really increasing your chances of achieving those goals and being successful with your goals. Now, we won't go into all the details here. Feel free to take a screenshot. This is widely available online. But just looking at some of the ones here that stand out for me, when we look at specific, I think the why really stands out here. And it's really important to understand why you're setting that goal. So for example, if your goal is to get a promotion in work, okay, and that's quite a common goal people have, then ask yourself, okay, why do I want that promotion? Is it to earn more money? Okay, maybe that's the reason. Ask yourself again, why do I want to earn more money? And then tie that back to a tangible result that you want to achieve. Is it so that I can go on holidays with my partner or my friends or my family? Is it so that I can sign up for a Pilates class or get a personal trainer? Is it so I can get my new car? So again, always tying back, the result to your goals. So just keep asking yourself why. And it's really important to document the whys, like really write them down so that you can fall back on them, and they will really help you stay motivated and give you a clear result, so that when you do achieve that goal, you can really say, oh, great, I did it, I achieved it, I can now celebrate it. And there is a technique called the 5 whys, that you can look into after today's session. It's online, and this also really helps make you understand the why of your goal. And then just another one that stands out for me is the relevance. So looking at the R in SMART, this really ties into ensuring that your goals are aligned to the values that are important to you. So just like we identified in the previous exercise, making sure your goals are relevant to your values. What about you, Taryn? Is there anything here that stands out?
Yeah, so for me, the looking at the T and the time-bound one. So definitely creating a time frame around your goals so that you can measure your progress, which moves on to the next part of this, which is where we're figuring out how we actually review our progress of our goals. So as I've mentioned, I'm from the Agile world. If anyone's worked in an Agile company, you must have come across Scrum, where they are time bound into a sprint, which is their time box. Okay, so the same way that, in your sprints, you would do sprint planning to figure out what you want to do. You do your daily scrums to check in and make sure that you're on track and nothing's hindering you from achieving those goals that you set in your planning. You're doing a review at the end of that time box to see, did we achieve what we wanted to? And then you're doing the retro to go, well, this is the way we worked during that time box, that sprint. Do we need to change the way we work so that, we can be more efficient or effective the next time around in the next time box? So taking that structure, you could do the same thing in your own personal time box. So you set what that looks like, if it's a monthly or quarterly or weekly, whatever that is for you, depending how big or small your goals are. But the same way you have your sprint planning, you could have goal setting that we're talking about now today. You could have your personal check-in, so however frequently you want to do that. Then you can have this kind of end of your time frame check-in. And this is ideally where you want a sandbox or someone else. And we're going to move on to that in the next couple of slides where we talk about the buddy check-ins. And then you also do your own personal retrospective. And this is the way that I worked the last time I went through this. This is what I want to improve for my next steps. So moving on from that, the one thing, we said we're going to move on to is the buddy check-in. And it's really crucial that you celebrate your success. Unfortunately, this hasn't always been widely encouraged in some cultures. Luckily, it's more of the norm nowadays to think about yourself without seeming self-involved or selfish. But it's really important to prioritize this time for yourself and preferably someone else to support you on your goals journey. So Lorna, you're going to talk us through the buddy system next.
That's correct. Thanks, Taryn. All right, so goal buddies. Let's just explain what the buddy system is in case you are new to this. So essentially the buddy system is when two or more people, the buddies, operate together as a single unit so that they're able to monitor and help each other out with their goals. And as per Merriam-Webster, as I learned recently, the first known use of the phrase buddy system goes as far back as 1942. So, we have the confidence that this is a tried and tested system. And of course, it can be used for all types of goals, whether it's professional, personal, or relationship goals. All right, so how exactly does the buddy system help you to achieve your goals? Firstly, with support. So the buddies offer support to each other to achieve the goal. Then the buddies encourage each other whenever they feel like quitting or giving up. Of course, we all have our down moments where we're just like, oh, I can't do it. But that's what your buddies are for. They're there to step in and lift you up when you just don't have the energy or you need that little bit of encouragement. So you can really urge each other to keep going and become each other's biggest fan or cheerleaders. And just like Taryn mentioned in the previous slide, celebrate your successes with you. Especially when I find when it comes to work successes, there are successes that aren't the traditional, like, oh, you're getting married, or, I don't know, you're being pregnant or something like that. There's so many other goals people have, and we often tend to forget to celebrate those goals. So really, really nice to have a buddy or buddies to celebrate all of your successes, not just the obvious ones. And then brainstorming, buddies brainstorm together to come up with new ideas and strategies. If one way isn't working, then you can work together with your buddies to come up with new ideas and to brainstorm. And you always remember multiple brains are better than one. The other benefit of the buddy system is that just allowing you to talk it out. Sometimes you come up with a resolution, even if you just tell somebody, what the challenge is or what you're experiencing. So talking it out is great, the good and the bad. And those buddies can become your go-to person to talk things through when you need to and to help you stay on track to success. And then finally, accountability. I think this is the most important one, last but not least. Having the accountability to someone else really motivates you to be more accountable to your own goals. So some people won't show up for themselves, but when it comes to showing up for others, they will. So this is just another reason why having some kind of a buddy in your life, whether it's for work or personal goals, is really, really important and really key to the success of you achieving your goals.
Yeah. Thanks, Lorna. So I think we're at that time where we're going to start to break out a little bit and have a check-in with some other people around here. So we'll have a 10-minute breakout, and then we'll come back together for 5 minutes at the end just to share any insights. So what we're going to do in the breakout is we're going to do a short introduction to each other. Use this time to connect with somebody in that breakout session and try out the buddy systems, share some buddy contact details. And there's not much time left in this program, so this is a nice time to trial it out and see how it works for you. You can set in bi-checkly weekends for the duration of this program if that frequency works for you. And then also share what has worked for you and not worked for you in the past to achieve your goals. And if you come up with anything interesting, it'd be good for you to bring that into the final part of our chat today. So I'm just gonna, sorry. I've got a cat sitting on my, did you hear her? She's sitting on my keyboard and I can't copy.
That's okay. Taryn, would you be able to set up those breakout rooms? Just as I was in the middle of setting it up, the permissions changed and it disappeared from my screen. So do you have the button there to set up the breakout room?
Yeah, give me 1 second. I need to get on here.
Yeah, and just the most important thing here is with the breakout rooms, it just gives you a chance to discuss what we talked about over the last 20 minutes, and also just to make a connection with somebody. And if you are willing to, share contact details and maybe be each other's buddies, this is a really great opportunity. Like we would never really go out of our way to do this. So being on a session like this is a great opportunity. And, there's no commitment. You don't have to do it. It's just completely optional and encouraged.
Yeah, I actually can't find breakout rooms either. I don't know
Oh,
if
okay.
Joe, are
Joe, are
you
you
on
still
here?
online there?
I've lost it as well.
Oh, okay. It was literally there. So I'll just ping Joe and see.
Sorry about this. We'll get there now. While we wait for Joe, if anyone wants to feed back to us just in the chat here, anything that's kind of stood out for you from what you've seen today? Has anything been new information for you that you haven't heard of before that you might find useful going forwards? Feel free to drop in the chat or come off mute, have a chat with us while we sort out these breakout rooms.
Yeah, hi Taryn, it's Neil here. Yeah, I found the goals piece very interesting. It's something I'd like to maybe bring into my, not just my work life, but into my own personal life as well. So I never seen it like that before, and just the examples yourself and Lorna had provided, it just makes you look at things totally differently, which is really good. So I'm going to try that out and see how I get on, and I'll let you know.
Oh, brilliant. Good. Thanks for sharing that.
No problem at all.
Thanks, Neil. Really appreciate it. I know like people have seen, goal setting before, and, probably have seen some of this, but it's great that there are people who still are learning. And same, even while we were doing research for this, I learned a bit more about goal setting myself. So yeah, I think it's great to have the tools to really help make those goals be successful, not just set them, but how do we stay on track? And it's all about using techniques we shared, and also having those accountability buddies.
Yeah, and I find it's the technique to keep yourself on track, because sometimes you'll set the goal and you'll forget about it after about 2-3 weeks, and it's just, what do something to go to help you stay on track. So yeah, that's great. I really appreciate it. Thanks for that.
Awesome.
No worries.
Okay, yeah, so I'm not sure if Joe was still on there, Taryn, but yeah, we seem to have lost breakout rooms in this Zoom.
Yeah.
But I don't know, just thinking on the fly here, potentially what we could do is, if you are interested in being assigned a buddy, we could, if you want to just maybe give a thumbs up or say yes in the chat, then Taryn and I can connect you after today's session. Because again, we're just trying to, facilitate here people getting to know each other and being there for each other. So would that work, Taryn? Potentially you can private chat us if you prefer, just say, yes, I'm interested. And, we'll then set you up after the session today. And while we're doing that as well, if anybody has any other techniques that they have used, please share. Taryn and I have researched, we have our own personal experiences, but there's always other techniques that are helpful too. So would love to hear them in the chat as well, if possible. And we just have some feedback there. The Goal Buddies framework looks to me like the fundamentals of teamwork, especially project teams. Yeah, absolutely. All of those kind of benefits that we talked about being in a buddy system is definitely true for when you're working with a team. So, having the accountability, having the support, celebrating successes, they're all relevant for project teams and your own teams that you're working with in your own companies.
Yeah, a lot of the tech teams I've worked with, we always encourage peer programming, especially when people are learning something new. So that you're basically buddying up to learn together and share your learnings as you grow. And that's where you said sometimes two brains is better than one, because you get these different perspectives that you might not even have noticed before yourself.
Yeah, and I'll just pop it in the chat there, what has worked for you in the past and maybe what hasn't. Because I always find we learn so much from each other as well. You can do all the research in the world, but when you're chatting with real life, peers and professionals that are in industry. We can always learn from each other as well. What's worked for me is definitely writing it down. I know, like, we're in the digital age and I would be that generation who grew up on technology, but I still love getting a pen out and writing out, you know, what things I need to do or my goals are. You can't beat pen and paper for me, but obviously that works for me. Some people would prefer to have it in OneNote or an email or maybe a dedicated tool to manage this. So that works too. But I personally get a lot of satisfaction with getting my highlighters out and crossing off things.
Yeah, see, I'd be agilified by now. I'd have a board where I'm like pulling things through as they're like to do in progress done. I do that with my own personal goals. It's just easy to see what's in flow at any stage.
And move them into different statuses. Yeah, so that's a really good way as well. Probably a more efficient way as well. Yeah, so I'm just looking at time, Taryn. I don't think we're going to have time to do the breakouts, just considering that we don't seem to have the hosts on the line to be able to give us that permission. So apologies for that, folks. But the important thing here is that, you know, we were able to share the content that we wanted to share. And again, if you do want us to connect you with somebody in order to have a buddy allocated, then please ping us directly. We really, really wanted to be able to facilitate that for you. And it's not something we usually do ourselves. So yeah, please just ping us directly or connect us on LinkedIn afterwards and message and say, I'd like a buddy, and we'll sort something out for you. Or as well, think inwards. If you have someone in your own company that you'd like to become a buddy with, or somebody in your own network, yeah, reach out to them and say, hey, I was on this program. It was suggested that I get a buddy. Do you want to buddy up? Let's stay accountable. And that can again be both for your personal and professional goals. So whatever it is that's important to you at this point. All right. Okay.
There's one, before we wrap up, there is another comment that's coming in. A big challenge for goal achievement is reacting to problems that throw the timelines off track, and extra complications can demotivate as well. And yeah, that's totally agreed. That's why I would say have those timeframes in and make them shorter timeframes. That's the whole point of you know, these agile ways of working, is that you have a time to stop and reflect on anything that's changed since your original goal, because they do get knocked off course often. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for that, Taryn, and thanks for your feedback in the chat. Really appreciate it. We always try and make these as, I guess, interactive as possible. And just to finish off the session today, obviously, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate that. And thanks for joining us on this Level Up Work and Wellness program. Our next session will be Vitality. And you'll see there it's coming up on Wednesday, 3rd of November. So this day, 2 weeks. And again, you can register for that online. Okay, and just a little bit more about what that session is going to be. So we're going to have Suzanne Clark, and she's going to focus on understanding what energizes you or depletes you in life or in work, and talks a little bit about how you can become unstuck, how to put time in your day for you. And she'll also have some exercises, you know, pausing exercises, moving exercises to help you become unstuck and to energize you throughout your day. So that will be a really interesting one. Again, we're going to have a lot of interactiveness throughout that session. You know, we'll be doing things live as we go. So really looking forward to that. And Suzanne's a phenomenal teacher. So that should be another great session. All right, and then finally, if you just move to the final slide, again, as always, feel free to tag us if there's anything you wanted to comment on or share on LinkedIn or Twitter. Please post, please tag Taryn and I. You can say if you enjoyed something today or if you learned something, we'd really appreciate if you can post about it. Or if you just want to connect with us to stay up to date with future events, you can do so as well. So you can connect with us on LinkedIn and Twitter, and then iTag have their own Twitter account. If you are doing any tweets, you can use the @iTagTech or the @iTag_digitalWF. All right, so I think that's it for today, Taryn. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, just thanks everyone for joining us. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you at the next session again. So make sure you've registered, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time.